Yeah, great to be here instead of Toyota, and let's see what happens if I have this as a first slide. Mobility as a service, the end of car ownership. But I did the same with the car dealerships event just weeks ago, and I was expecting them to kick me out of there, or at least throw some rotten apples or tomatoes at me, but I survived. I'm still kind of alive. What I'm trying to tell you is actually two things. That, you know, mobility and transport it's a huge industry. And there's a big disruption undergoing. And I'm trying to convince you within these 20 minutes that if you want to see what happens in it, you don't look at within transportation. Take the analogies. It's after lunch, you get to even close your eyes. I don't hold that against you. You can do that. And think about, okay, what if something similar were to happen in transportation as to what happened in telecom from the 80s? Had I been here year 85 telling that, look, telecom, plugging phones, that will be the sexiest business on earth, you know, driving world economy, doing all kinds of crazy stuff and innovation, they would have laughed and said, look, this, not really. None of us actually had our personal mobile operators. Now we all do. Many things changed. Like in digitalization, disruptions, for me, they happen in three phases. First is denial. That was around 2000s in transportation. This internet has nothing to do with us. Everything will remain the same. Now we're at the second stage where, you know, you think that everything will remain the same. We'll just turn the screw a bit. And then the third phase will come where the structures will change. And I will try to argue that this is actually the second question that I have is the biggest economical but also sustainability question for the next decades to come. And it's quite simple because it's also quite personal. First of all, how many of you have a car? It's okay to say, I mean. Not as many. In New York, I only had, out of a group like this, about 5-10 people. It's quite strange. Now the question is quite simple. What would I have to promise to you to give it up? Quite simple as that. And somehow that question has actually taken me, our company, us quite far in all of this. And I've been wondering, why is it that this mobility as a service, it's not often that someone is so happy, actually, that I've been called the father of this mobility as a service, which mostly means that for over 11 years I've been dumb enough to talk about it in all kinds of events. You can imagine 2006, I was with lots of civil engineers in a place like this, and I was saying, look, guys, there may be a change in the whole structures of business. Digitalization will change the structures of business, and we will probably even face the biggest paradigm change in cities when the paradigm is no longer as if everybody would own their cars. And they all go like, yeah, now he's lost it, really. But I've done over 1,000 speeches, and sometimes, you know, dreams come true. I've wondered why have we been in the Economist, USA Today, CNN, all of these things, and we're a small startup from Finland. But it is that, look, sometimes you come up with something that really hits, and sometimes you're even happy enough that even the big guys trust in you that much, that just this Monday, this is actually the first time publicly that I go and be happy about, that the world's #1 car manufacturer, the brand Toyota, even believes us so much that they let me on stage, and that they even invest in us. And it's quite simple. This is what the mobility as a service is. Just imagine, with this, what if I were to give you everything? Here in Copenhagen, all the public transport, all the bikes that you have, all the car shares that you have, all the taxis, ride hails, home deliveries, all of those things that keep on rising all the time and growing and growing and growing, and I put them in just one. The data exists. It is quite possible. But not just that. The emphasis of this mobility as a service is on the last word, service. What if I were to able to give you a subscription just like this, saying, look, I'll take care of everything, all your trips, and I'll even change it into something that, hey, I'll promise, like the one over there. Within 15 minutes, you're underway. Don't worry about how. If public transport's not there, if there's no bikes, I will put you in a taxi. I won't be cheap about it. I will give you the car if you want to go out to the city. I will make all of these things just happen. You know, you don't think when I call home, sometime I will, to Finland, I don't think whether they use copper or fiber or satellite, whatever. I just say, fix it. Fix the connection, just do it for me. And this is what we're aiming. Because the one big challenge, I had that thing over there about, end of car ownership, but with a question mark, of course. Not going to be for everyone, but it's a good markup. Because car is a great product. It's a great service. Why? In IT terms, it gives you SLA. It gives you service promise. I have to admire the whole idea of freedom. We really are hooked to this freedom, personal freedom. For me, long time ago, I'm a father of 4 kids. Still, we had the car over there. I was staying there really loyally, waiting. We live quite close to Helsinki, close to the center. And I was thinking, what would someone have to promise to me, really, that we could take it out? It's not big things. It's actually quite small things. It's quite like an insurance. For a Finn, we have lots of lakes and all of these. It's, but we have to go to summer house every now and then. That's why I need this big SUV in the city, because approximately 5 times a year you go to summer house. And I said, okay, what if someone promises to me that I get the car when I go to summer house? I get these things when needed. If somebody really does this service promise, then I might be onto something. But the second thing is, even though everyone's big, no one has that alone. There's no way that you can do this. I really admire the car, I said. It gives you the freedom. And unless you do the same thing, you're not really solving the issue. With the whole technologies that we have, it's not about what the technology, there's no self-cost for just having technology. It's what it enables. And the potential here are huge. I had to take this because some years and years ago, I talked to the former CEO of Nokia, Mr. Ollila, and it took maybe 2 minutes from him to say, yeah, I get it, you don't have to explain more. This is going to be really big. You guys don't even know that you're being hit by a tsunami. Structures will change, it will change pretty much everything because the potential is huge. Why is it huge? And I'm claiming that for the next decades, this one question, what would I have to promise to you, will be both for the economic growth in this world, but also for sustainability. 22% of emissions is caused by traffic. Here in the city, it's even more. Particular and so on, it's even up to 50. Now, if you want to do a big change, it doesn't come by, changing the screw a bit. You need to have a paradigm change. Now, for the potential, and why I claim that this single question is the biggest question for economic growth. It's not the bankers that actually make the world economy grow. It's productivity gains. Now, housing is the number 1 consumption for people. Second is transport. Third is food. Then it's health. And actually, it's those 4 dinosaurs that have not been disrupted yet, but they're being disrupted. So if I compare it with telecom and the big disruption that's been carrying world economy quite nicely, it's only 10% of the money that you have for your mobility needs. The ARPU that they always use, this average revenue per user, the share of wallet is 30 euros. Let me use euros here. I try to use them as long as we still have them. For mobility needs, you have 10 times the same amount. And this applies pretty much everywhere. 10 times the amount. Huge market. Nearly 10 trillion annually that's spent here. And now 85% of that market lies with an asset that is used about 4% of the time. So you have to give me there's potential. And now the enablers, the technology enablers, when I was talking about 2006, even about 3 years ago, I think USA Today interviewed me and they said, okay, when do you think this will become live first time? And I said, because I'm an engineer, I thought technically 2020 or something. And here I am, and we have a live service, and things just sometimes happen faster because the enablers are there. And if we get this right, so you could argue that someone cracks this formula because there's so much money to be made with the productivity. But it does not happen until you provide people with freedom. The same level of freedom that the car actually provides these days. That's how you crack the 85%. But that's how you also crack the whole potential for sustainability. Only by being as good as better. So it's not because I have anything, or we in the company have anything against cars. I love them. Okay, but of course there should be options for having them in a different way, having options to ownership, having access to all kinds of things easy way of doing all of that. Now here comes the hard part. Everybody, because transport is huge, everybody in transportation is also huge. To get this to this potential of sustainability, also this potential of markets, you need to have a new layer of business. Just like here, you need to have the operators. Everyone is used to taking their silo all the way to the end user, and now here comes this new layer that sits on top of it, makes the service promises, bundles everything up, and really packages it nicely to the end users. And there are quite a number of ways that this market can go about. One of them is, and I don't think this is too big for anyone to rule. Not even Google can do this alone. Sorry if there's Google's, oh, they're listening anyway, so I don't. Sorry, Google, for that. But I don't think that anyone can, because this needs cooperation. This is why it's been hard for any of the companies. You can ask, so any of the big companies, any car OEMs, all of them, they could have done this. I've been talking about this for over 10 years. Why haven't they done that? They've got all the resources and everything. Well, this is where it comes different from telecom and others. No one does this alone. If we come to Copenhagen, when we come to Copenhagen, we're nothing. If we don't have public transport, if we don't have taxis, if we don't have car shares, if we don't have all of them, no one has enough money to invest everywhere to all of these. It's just too big. But at the same time, they all exist in every place, and they actually grow. The only way of making this really work is this one. Roaming environment where we understand that it's an end-to-end relationship. And this is hard for transportation, but it's the only way to really answer the big question of this, really get to the actual sustainability gains. I don't know if you've seen OECD did a report on when the automated come. The potential of, if it's done in a way like this, is that we have minus 27% CO2 emissions from transportation. The bad vision of this happening is plus 50. So there's quite a big difference in this. So it's about time also that we come to understand what should be the better way of providing the freedom than what we have now. It's a new ecosystem of all kinds of players also finding new places within the business trying to make this happen. Now, Toyota invested, but it's already a company that's been running for 1.5 years. I've had a dream job. Think of it. A guy who's been speaking about this in over 1,000 events, because yeah, this happens only with lots of people getting into this movement and really going for, yeah, there's something in there, let's go for it. And for over a year, I've been actually so privileged to do it. We have a service called Whim, now up and live and selling in Helsinki or in Finland. And we're coming live in a few other places that I'll show. The idea is nothing more than just to revolutionize the whole thing. It's a small issue. And if we believe some of the research institutes that by 2030, this mobility as a service market will hit way above $1 trillion, I mean 20%, I'm okay with that idea. Yeah, it's funny, but someone will definitely make this happen. While doing that, the real reason, at least for me, is that I'd like to tell my kids and my grandchildren that I was part of this movement that changed the cities to better, that enables the growth to the cities with an idea that, look, we can actually still get around without being bust and everything, and also that the emissions are going down. We can actually do that. We can actually do that if we do all of these things. But it doesn't happen if we don't sell it to the individuals. We want to really make sure that you will have less hassle. I think that my kids will no longer have to worry about the whole idea of, did you really think yourself, how did you get there? You know, from here to the center, you had all the options. You thought about public transport, taxis, car shares, what do I take? Of course, we'll take care of that. It's not that hard of a job. Even more so, I think a big thing is I'd want to give you 90 minutes back to your life. We all spent, since Roman times, roughly about 90 minutes in transportation. Now, what would you do if I gave you back all that? My perfect package would actually be that, okay, it's a 30-minute sleep package. I told you I have 4 kids. Normally when I'm not here, I'm really happy being here because then my wife has to take care of all of that. I take them to schools and kindergartens in the morning. I would love to have that 30 minutes of more sleep, which means that in the pod or whatever comes into it, I will just have to make sure that they have some sort of clothing. They could go into a pod, preferably not the same one as I, and they will have their breakfast there. so I get to sleep more. And I will go into a separate one where I read my newspaper and be totally in silent. I would pay quite a lot for this package. And I bet there's more of you over here. We want to make sure that you're not giving up on the freedom, which we're starting to actually compromise in the city's growth. We're compromising the freedom of being able to go anywhere, anytime. And we don't want that. We want to give you better stuff and really make sure that we contribute, because we can. We can in a big way. But it doesn't happen only by trying to do the same a bit more efficiently if you have a chance of actually revolutionizing the whole field, the whole thing. This is how it looks like. We've had to redesign quite a lot of things, including getting a car into a garage and all of it. You have everything in one. You have your calendar. All you do is click once. We'll take care of calling the taxis and making you sure that you have public transport or anything like that. You have all of those things. Of course, it tells you where to go, but that's just a small part of it. The best part that I like is actually the Whim. The name Whim for the service comes actually, it didn't come from the really expensive London-based office that gave us 2,000 names, which none worked. It came from our collaboration manager who last night when we had to make a decision said, look, these guys are customers. They were actually saying that the thing that they like about their car is not the weekdays. It's the weekends when I could go anywhere on a whim. And that was it. And the London-based office got a lot of money, and Jonna got a bottle of champagne, which is good for her. But I do like the Whim button, because that also did the designs. Look, it's not about the planning of everything. It's about, look, just get me a taxi right now. Just get me a ticket, get me a car, get me something now, right now. And this is what I, for example, use all the time. You have to be able to go also to London. This is our dream quite fast. That look, in that you can hop any train, any bus, any car, anything pretty soon to give you totally freedom, not just around you, but wherever you tend to want to be. Of course, it shows you around. It has all the tickets inside, but even better so, this is for many. I asked you how many of you have a car. Now another one. How many of you have your dream car? Toyota guys. Hey. Now, if I was Donald Trump, you know what I would have said now. If you only use it normally for 4% of the time, with the money that you have, you should be able to have a multitude of cars, like what we have. Every now and then we take a smaller car, because not always all the kids are there. When we go out there, we go and change into a bigger car. That's how it has to be, a garage full of things. So it's not just going from ownership to usership. It's much further, because people want experiences. The best way of this, changing this into the new era and also much more sustainability, comes from thinking of the good things that actually car industry has been so good at, is thinking of the dreams. How do we take those dreams into a new and much more sustainable era of things, of providing you all of these experiences? We sell this already, monthly package to cover everything. We're actually, yes, we can go further. We're opening up, like I said, in UK already this month. We're opening up in Amsterdam in September. Let's see, who do we have from Copenhagen? When do we get to open up in Copenhagen? But I know this would be, honestly, one of the best places in the world to make this happen in so many ways. Of course, we have an evil plan for world domination, like any good startup should, which is here. Now you've seen it. Now you can do it. Let's think. Cities, for the last, let's say, century, they've been built around the paradigm that, okay, as if we all had cars. And that's how they are. They look like this. Based on corridors. If you look at any city, it's like that. Now, if we have a new paradigm, it will mean also that the cities will change quite drastically. They're not yet equipped for this. There will be quite an interesting 20-some years to come to really rebuild the cities into something new. And I have to say, sometimes you're okay to even say good things about the authority and politicians. Not always, but sometimes. I love what my home city, Helsinki, does. With the idea that, look, they're not going to follow the route of some cities and say that we're going to ban cars. No. It's quite okay. It's really good that you own a car. But for those that don't want to, wouldn't it be great if you could lead a perfectly good life without being forced to own one? You can drive, you can do all of that, but that you're not kind of forced and pushed into it. And that's a good vision that I really like. And it is sustainable. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.